And good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to Going nuCLEar, full-blown coverage of the land. I am Ethan Greenberg, and alongside of me is my co-host, Mike Rasinski. Mike, how are we feeling this evening?
Feeling good. Feeling good for a lot of reasons. Number one, my 11-year-old son, his little league team made the championship game, which will be tomorrow. So excited for that. They won it yesterday in a walk-off in the bottom of the ninth. Guardians have won 3 in a row, so that's got me pumped as well. And yeah, so can't complain. And we got the game starting right now.
Yes, definitely. So the Guardians, a winner last night, 5-3. Let's talk about the Guardians because you know what? The Guardians are the hottest team in town, and because of that, it's time that we just have to say Gardos all the time. Gardos
Wonderful.
with the victory over the Cincinnati Reds last night by a final of 5-3. And it was tough. I don't know about you, but I was listening to the early portion of the ball game while I was out on my walk. And Tristan McKenzie had me sweating bullets. Is that just me or,
No, I think that's what Tristan does. He likes to make us all nervous. Do you remember when he was going to be the ace of the staff a couple years ago?
Yes.
And he was our number one prospect, and he came up and he was thrown like that. He kind of looks like a number 3 starter to me now. But that's okay. We need a solid number 3 starter as well. But you're right. He is that's just kind of who he is now.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, I mean, he gets injured last year, and this year he comes out, and news comes out shortly after, the start of the season. Hey, he's dealing still with this elbow issue that he chose not to have surgery on. And so now I'm going, wait a second. Is the reason for his, and I'm going to use this term and use this kind of loosely, his struggles, is that because of his elbow? Or is it because he's just not doing something mechanically correct? They were mentioning last night during the broadcast, a lot of his fastballs, he wasn't on top of it. It was, sailing high on him. And just, again, I was sweating bullets. And thank goodness for Tyler Freeman, who took away at least probably 3 runs. He for sure saved a home run, one that he pulled up, went over the wall, and one that was right at the wall and probably would have at least been extra bases in the first inning. And that was enough, for the Guardians to be able to stay in it, keep it 1-0 deficit after 1 inning, and then come away with the victory. But yeah, that again, sweating bullets there. Thank goodness that the Reds are not, they're not horrible, but they're not, they're not as good of a team. And we were able to take advantage of that and get through it.
So on that, let me ask you this question. As we're talking about Tyler Freeman and some of these guys that are performing that we didn't expect to perform well at the beginning of the year, and they're kind of what's making this team exciting. So my question to you is: David Fry an all-star?
Is David?
I will start it off. I'll just give you his numbers real quick.
Yes, so, give me his numbers while I look them up.
Okay. As I pull them up here, he is batting average. Let me get.
I don't know why his stats aren't coming up. I'm looking at these things. I'm going, what is this?
Yeah, I just got him. Sorry, I thought I had him too, but I got him. So average of 326.
Okay.
On base percentage 451, slugging 574, which gives them 1,024 OPS, 2.0 WAR. But he's only played 47 games with 129 at bats when most people, most guys have 230 or so at bats now. So he hasn't been a regular, but his numbers pop out. What is it? 8 home runs this year with 29 RBIs for the amount of at bats he had. That's pretty good.
No, I think you're right. It's rather impressive. I like what he's done, and I think if he was playing every day and had main has these numbers and maintained them as being on the field and in the lineup every day, absolutely, he's an all-star. And the question for me, and I guess the issue I have is that, and I think that what the voters would say is, "Hey, we don't know enough about him." I'm sure as heck hoping that the Cleveland fans are, voting for him. Do you remember back in the day, the paper ballots used to
I
go.
love the paper ballots, little punch outs that you
Yeah,
you had to go to the stadium to get.
yes, those are fantastic. Were there any hanging chads? Were there any hanging chads? That's.
I'm pretty sure there were plenty of hanging chads in those days.
Yeah, definitely. But no, I think that if he had more at bats and more time in the lineup, then certainly these numbers are all-star worthy. And you know what? Whether or not he's in the all-star game, I mean, he's an all-star for us. There is no
Absolutely.
denying his value to this team. And I think sometimes people, and you tell me, do you think that fans get lost in this whole world of, oh, if getting the individual accolades and being named to this or that or the other, and don't think about, look, regardless of what the rest of the country is seeing, we see these guys and we know their value, whether or not somebody else gives a flying rat's patoozie about them or gives them their just dessert.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jose Ramirez is another great example. He's a guy that probably, if he was in LA or New York, would be getting MVP considerations. But he's finished in the top five a number of years, but was never a serious contender. Even though, if you look at, I don't have the stats in front of me, but from like 2017 on, he's like number one or two in a whole bunch of offensive categories. And if you had to vote for an MVP for from 2017 on for that like big chunk of years, I think hands down he would be your guy. But he does not get the recognition outside of Cleveland that he should. Now, is that okay? I mean, I'm okay with it. I think he's okay with it. He chose to stay here, and I think maybe that's part of his secret of his success is he doesn't have to worry about all the big media markets and all the other requests for his time. We kind of saw how Francisco Lindor, how
Right.
he's handled the big market, and it hasn't gone well for him. So
No, no, it has not. It's a conversation that I heard earlier on the radio, and they were talking about, and it came up because they were talking to, they were playing some clips of Miles Garrett from today's media availability, and it got them to talking about the debate of team over self.
mhm,
And what you see from a guy like Jose Ramirez is he's a team guy. He is busting his butt, hustle all the way. And he is such a great athlete, a great player to watch in a Cleveland uniform. For all the guys that have left for bigger money and not been satisfied being in Cleveland, Jose Ramirez staying here and taking less money, even though I don't think he should have had to, um, is such an amazing piece of Cleveland baseball history and Cleveland athletic history. He's going to go down as a legend. He
agreed.
really will for all that he's done for this city and just the way he plays.
I'm gonna throw another name at you now that you mentioned
Absolutely.
somebody that chase the money. And this probably won't be a very popular opinion, but I lost a lot of respect for Jim Thome when he took the money to go to Philadelphia because at the time, and again, this is something maybe I'll have to look up for next week, but at the time, I think Philadelphia only offered him a couple million more than Cleveland, and we're talking, maybe 154 million instead of 150 over the same amount of years. In the back of my mind, when I was a teenager at the time, I'm like, what is $4 million when you're talking about that kind of money? But to me, because of that, he always, in my mind, was a guy that just chased the money more for himself than the team. And granted, he's a great player. He's come back. He's represented Cleveland well since then. But I lost a little bit of respect for him um, because of that. Although, honestly, we don't know the whole situation and all the thought process that went behind them. So I could be a little biased in that opinion. But
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you actually. And I was thinking about that sort of thing recently. So first of all, on specifically on Jim Tomey, it was my understanding. I don't know where I heard this. And someone would have to, kind of fact check me here. Why do I think I heard just recently that one of the issues or reasons he left Cleveland was something to do with his wife?
because I wasn't his wife, local sports broadcaster.
I'm not sure. I can't remember who dated whom. And there's a
Hmm.
lot of people from Fox 8 dating others. What is it? Robin Swoboda was dating the kicker for the
I
Browns.
hadn't heard that
Brian,
rumor.
wasn't that
Are,
Brian Wagner?
are we just starting rumors now, or on
No,
his side?
this is true. There was Robin Swoboda was
Yep.
either married or dated, one of the kickers from Cleveland. And
Okay.
so I don't know about, but I thought I heard something recently, and that was just again, I'm shooting from the hip, a little top of the head, top off the top of my head, so I may be wrong about that. But you talk about Cleveland athletes. You mentioned Jim
Mhm.
Tomey leaving for the money. What other players left for bigger, greener pastures? Did Man Ram leave?
Yes.
Albert Bell?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a couple of guys, and so I want to talk. I want to call out all the jabronis who get ticked off about LeBron James leaving, not even for money, but leaving for whatever reason, and hating on him. Now, I hated him when he made the decision. That was
Hmm.
just in poor taste, the way he did it, right? But for everybody who
Yep.
wants to get ticked off about him and act like he's a traitor, then don't ever start telling me how great Jim Tomey and Albert Bell and Manny Ramirez are and why we should revere them as Cleveland fans. I don't want to hear it unless you're going to give the same respect to LeBron James. Don't give me that.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. I mean that's a really good point because I think we all felt that same way the first time he left. I think I used the shirt I had, the jersey I had of LeBron became my dish rag for quite a while. But I bought another one when he came back. Had the respect for that. I guess that maybe that's what separates him from the other ones. He actually came back,
Right.
where none of these other guys ever did.
Now, did Jim Tomey, did he come back at the very end of his career? I think you said, if my memory serves me correctly. I mean, I know I was so happy when Kenny Lofton came back.
Yeah, so I have his Wikipedia page up now as I'm trying to research
Okay.
this real time. It says he came back to Cleveland in 2011. He
Right.
waived
Okay.
his no trade clause to return to Cleveland. So I
And
guess I guess I forgot about that. I guess that raises
his stock a little
his
bit.
stature in my book a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And what he did in Cleveland was fantastic. And I mean, it's okay. It's a business, guys. And I don't think we can, in the long run, you have to be willing to take a look at the bigger picture it's just part of being you want to be what is it? The better person. Take,
Yeah.
take the high road. Yeah, it sucks and you're like disappointed, but it's business. These people are looking to make as much money as they possibly can. And, so that's what makes Jose Ramirez even it's a bigger and greater story, and we can respect that. So yeah, that's fantastic. So yeah, Ramirez, he's going to be, I don't know if where he's going to fall in MVP considerations. He's having a phenomenal season. Last night I was a little rough. Thankfully, Josh Naylor picked him up.
Yep.
Coming through with 2 for 5, 3 ribby. Now, okay, where do we land on this? Is it RBI or RBIs? Do you mind the S at the end? Consider in the technicality that is R being runs.
Yes. I know where you're coming from, but I consider RBI a single word once you contract it. So in my mind, it is still RBIs when you're calling it RBIs.
Should we pull out our AP style guide that we got at Kent State to confer? Do you think it'll have anything in there?
It should if it doesn't, and I'm sure somewhere I still have my style guide. So we'll have to look for that this next week.
We will have to look for that. We should call up Carl Shearhorn.
Yes.
See
Yeah,
what he
we
has
need
to
to have
say.
him as a guest on the show.
Yes. Is this what you're looking for, Mike?
That is incredible. You still have that.
Oh, no. Let me top this one, Mike. And for anyone out there,
Okay.
check this out. Now, wait, I'm waiting. Wait for it.
Oh, wow. I have not seen that in 25 years.
And I
That
have
is in what did you open that in college? Because it looks like it's still in pretty good condition.
it is in very, I did have to study that for the grammar, spelling, and punctuation test to get into the remaining of the classes in the School of Journalism. But yes, so I would wonder about that with that discussion these days with RBI. And I agree because I'm on the same page as you, but I think that's where the I'm too old for this crowd goes.
Yeah.
We are just old school. So last night, Guardians with another win, the Royals with the loss. Guardians lead is now 5.5 in the Central, and we got to get the wins while we can. Definitely got to get the wins while we can. And tonight we've got Tanner Bybee on the mound, and I believe I have to look at the matchup here for tonight, but I believe that Cincinnati's going with a pretty good arm as well. And before the game, Tanner Bybee, just a little clip here, he was talking to Andre Knott on Bally's about adding his slurve to his pitching repertoire. Let's hear what he had to say.
I think it just gives the hitter one more thing to think about. I mean, I think, you're never really like a finished product. So, I mean, last year the slider looked a lot.
And I just screwed that up, so that's my bad there. Well, anyway, so he added the slurve to the repertoire there for Tanner Bybee. But Tanner Bybee on the mound, and he has certainly been very good this season for the Guardians. They are going to need that. Looks like Gavin Williams, he's making his way back. Had his third. He's making another rehab start in Columbus on Saturday, and Ben Lively, thank goodness, he rejoined the team in Cincinnati. He only pitched he pitched 5 innings down in Miami and was looking really good, and then left the game with some tightness. It was very nondescript, and that gave us a little bit of a scare. I don't know about you, but I'm like, oh no.
Can we just pause for a moment for the Ben Lively story?
Yes,
Isn't
please.
that amazing? Where he came from, what was it, Korea, and even pitching there, he had like an ERA above 5 or something like that. He comes here on a spring training invite. Now he's the best pitcher we have. The below 3 ERA. Like, where did this come from? It's been amazing.
It has been. It has been a heck of a story. And then the question you start thinking about is he going to be a one-hit wonder?
That's a great question. Yeah.
I mean, will he be one of these music artists that, they have that one hit? That's it. Never hear from him again.
And can he sustain this throughout the whole season too?
Yeah,
or will the batters figure him out eventually?
And I think right there, that's where you have to be very creative, and hopefully having a pitching coach like Carl Willis, having experienced guys behind the dish, will help guide him through these games. And I apologize. Thinking about the Royals series, when we were facing Springer, I believe it was against Springer, that they were saying he calls his own game. And it's like, that's crazy to me. I guess it works, I suppose, but normally the catchers kind of seem to have an idea, control these types of things. It's rare that you hear that the pitcher is the one calling their own shots.
Yeah, I was actually just watching a couple games in the College World Series this past weekend, and it's they actually have, instead of the pitch comm system in the ears, everybody on the team wears watches, and so they call the game from the dugout. The coaches do, and everybody looks down at their watch to see what pitch is coming. It's a slightly different than what the majors have, but it's quite unique. But all the coaches in the dugouts call the game, which I never knew before.
That is really interesting. Now, the question I would have is this. Going forward, and I know that baseball has a long curve, the trajectory of going from college, making it all the way to the majors, is a much longer process than we're not talking about the NFL where you get drafted and if you're superstar, you're going to play right away. But you have to go through all the majors and you've kind of got to learn a lot of things and get used to different things. But is that in any way going to stunt their growth? Um, Having the coaches call the pitches and the game versus, doing it themselves.
Yeah, good question. I guess I am not as familiar with the college game as maybe I should be, but I'm not sure if it's always been like that or if this
Okay.
is a new thing too. Maybe, I've seen it before where the catcher will look over in the dugout and still get the calls from the dugout. And so really the coach is still calling it even before all the technology. So that's a good question. I think something that maybe is worth researching, and the other question I would have, now you brought up the subject, which I think is a really good subject. What about these prospects that are getting called up, the same year they're drafted or just the year after they're drafted? That used to never happen. But now you have Skeen from
Right.
Pittsburgh, who's throwing like 102 miles an hour, and he was just drafted last year. He's already making. I mean, is that going to stunt their growth coming up too soon, or are these, you think, players are mature enough now to handle that?
Yeah, I am not sure. And then where's the line of the burnout as well? That you see all these pictures with the Tommy John surgery. And, I mean, I know your son, he's playing little league right now. And I wasn't a good enough to play, seriously in baseball, but I know people who have kids who do, and it's a lot. And they travel and they play a lot. And can you imagine, if you're a pitcher when you're that young, are you gonna wear out your arm? Is it too much? When is it too much?
That's a great question. Great question. And I wish I had an answer for that one, but I don't.
Well, where were you on that one, Mike? Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on
I
now.
was not good. I was not good enough in Little League baseball either to worry about
Exactly. I can describe it. I can't do it.
that.
Do as
Right.
they do as I say, they don't do as I do, or something along those lines there. So the Guardians, and taking a look here, looks like we are in the bottom of the first, 2 down, still scoreless.
Well, Candelario just hit a home
Oh,
run off of Bibee with
well,
two
no,
outs.
we're not. Well,
Yeah.
that was
Way to bring that one up, Ethan.
oh,
Right as he hit
boo. Oh,
it.
that is no bueno. All right, so we're spotting him a lead here. I am getting a little bit concerned, however, with the bullpen a little bit. I'm getting worried that the overuse. I mean, I know Clase gave up another run last night. He'd gone a very long time without giving up any runs. Last night he gave up a run the other day, gives up a run last night. Um, do you think we are going to get to a point where we have to start to panic about overuse of the back end?
I hope not. I think Vogt's been doing a pretty good job of mixing everybody in and not relying just on one or two arms all the time. So I'm hoping that will help. I was encouraged with Clase yesterday too. Even he gave up the run, but both of the hits he gave up were just kind of bloops too. Nobody hit it hard, although he did give a home run a couple days ago. But that does lead to the other question of if the bullpen's getting used too much, we need to find some more reliable starters. And I think the only way we're going to do that is with the trade. So who would you be willing to give up this year to get a reliable starter, even if it's just a 1 year rental to get through this season?
Well, I saw, you did some excellent research here, and I appreciate that. So you said, let's see, so the list of the top prospects at the beginning of the season. So you got Rocchio, Manzardo, DeLauder, Jason Chorio, Jose Tena. Is it Tena or Tenya?
I think it's Tenya. I
Tenya.
can't
That's
figure out how to get the little squiggly line over the end on my computer.
oh, come on. You got to learn how to do that. We need to work on that. No, Juan Brito, Ralphie Velasquez, Alex. So Velasquez is a catcher, but of the ones that you listed of our top prospects, only 2 of them are pitchers. Espino has had a rough go.
Yeah.
He has had a
Yes, he
rough
has.
go. So I can't see us. We're not gonna, obviously we just traded for Manzardo. Not going to give up on him. Rocchio, he's all right. You know, I could see us making a move. He hasn't been consistent enough for me as of yet. And DeLauder, I could see them maybe, using him as trade bait of the guys that I'm looking at there. I've seen a lot of good things, heard a lot of good things about Juan Brito. And, he may be, a middle infielder of the future for the Guardians.
Yeah, my concern with DeLauder is I think he might be a future corner outfielder that we've been searching for a while. I mean, Will Brennan's been okay, but he hasn't really, locked down the job. And DeLauder for the last couple of years has kind of impressed people. So I'd be hesitant to give him up, but that's what it requires this year. I don't know, because the top, the Tribe has 4 players in all of baseball's top 100, and they're DeLauder, Manzardo, Churio, and Velasquez. Manzardo's already up, so he's not. I don't know if you can call him a prospect anymore because he's already on the team.
Right, exactly.
So, so then you have DeLauder, who is I think ranked 20th overall, and then you got a couple guys that are ranked in the 80s. This Churio and Velasquez. So I don't know. Do you mortgage the future? Although sometimes you would rather give up a future that's uncertain for something that is certain, an established player.
Absolutely. You nailed it. You hit it right on the head there. The question is, all right, so who are the sellers at this juncture? Do they have any pitching, starting pitching that we could be looking at? I'm looking at the worst teams in baseball. So the Rockies. Is there anyone that they've got that they're like, we need to unload this salary, we need to unload that?
Cal Quantrill?
Oh, good Lord. No. Please and thank you, or no and no thank you. I don't know.
He's actually having a pretty decent season over there in Colorado.
I don't want to ever see that guy in a Guardians uniform again. Thank you. I've had enough of him. I've seen quite enough. It's like he and what's his name, Clevenger. They I don't need to see any of them anymore. The Marlins. I mean, they are struggling, to say the least, at 23 and 43. The Mets having a rough go of it. And then you look at teams like the A's, the Angels. I don't know if the Astros. Do you think the Astros? Do they still have? And let me look at. I should know this, but I don't because I didn't research this and go off. I'm going off the top of my head here. Do they still have? They do, I believe. They do still have Justin Verlander. What if we could get Verlander for the stretch run?
How's he doing this year? Do we know?
Let's take a look.
Have to look.
Let's see if I can find him. Find his season so far.
So as you're looking for that, the New York Times expects these pitchers to be traded at the deadline. So you got the Marlins, Jesus Luzardo, Luis Severino from the Mets, Tyler Anderson of the Angels, Eric Fede, and Garrett Crochet of the White Sox, Jack Flaherty of the Tigers, and Trevor Williams of the Nationals. So you had the teams nailed right there. So apparently some of these guys will be available.
Right. So this season, Justin Verlander is 10 starts. He's 3-2. His WAR is a 0.6, ERA 3.95. The WHIP is 1.21. He's got 57 innings pitched. So if he's got 10 starts, 57 innings. So, he's going almost 6 innings a start. We really need 6 innings, at the minimum, I think. His strikeout to walk ratio is 3. So that's pretty good right there. I think if he were available, he might be a good down the stretch kind of guy. Look at what the 95 Indians did with Oral Hershiser and Dennis Martinez. I mean, sheesh, talk about trying to squeeze the last drop out.
And they sure did. I mean, what a great callback. I mean, they were exciting to watch too, and they got every last bit of talent out of those guys. That was a fantastic acquisition.
It was. And we had Doc Gooden toward the end of his career. We had Blackjack McDowell. We had Jack Morris in '94, if you remember.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, that was crazy. I remember those early games, listening to him from the, as they were opening up the Jake and listening to the games, and Jack Morris. I'm like, wow, I hated this guy when he was with the Tigers. That booger. That booger there.
That's right. So
Uh,
that's like it's like Verlander hated him when he was with the Tigers, but I'm sure he'd root him on if he came to Cleveland.
and I think that's the thing. In most athletes, I don't know that how many uh, opposition players there are out there that we would say never in Cleveland. I don't care what you do for us. We do not want you here. Like, would you have ever accepted Ben Roethlisberger here?
Well, that's an interesting one because he at one time was the winningest starting QB in Cleveland Browns
Background.
Stadium, and he is
Yeah.
from Ohio. So I guess if he chose to come here willingly to help the Browns, I probably would have rooted for him. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I got a grudge against him. I didn't have the same grudge against Flacco when he came here last year, but we shall see. I think that, like you said, I mean, we're gonna have to see what they want to do, how aggressive they're gonna be at the deadline. And I should know this, James Karinchak, I think he's still in the minors. Not that I really can stand all of his herky jerky and ridiculous routines. I mean, does he have OCD or what's the story?
Great, great question. And where did he go? He was so good his first year up here. I know he got hurt, but he kind of just lost it and started walking everybody.
Yeah,
his second year up here.
yeah, he really struggled. I think last season, and then got sent down and hasn't been back since. Um, So let's see. He had at the beginning of spring training, I know he was sidelined with right shoulder inflammation, and I'm just trying to see if I can find where he's at right now. If he is still down um, in the minors, I believe he is. I think I just saw his name in some standings. But the point being, the Guardians are going to have to notch it up, as you said, a little bit to keep up this pace. It's fortunate right now they're getting a bit of a cushion over the Royals, but they have definitely got a tough stretch coming up. They are going to play against some winning teams very soon, including, I believe, that they've got at least, I think, 10 games left with the uh, Royals. And coming up here soon, I believe they also play Baltimore. Baltimore playing very well themselves. And as I take a look here, now I've got the schedule pulled up. The Guardians, after tonight's game, they will have 3 on the road at Toronto. I know everyone's talking about Bo Bichette, but I think that got shut down kind of sort of quickly there. 3 at home, or then they've got 3 against the Mariners at home, 3 against Toronto at home. But then there's the big trip. They go to Baltimore on the 24th, 25th, and 26th, and then they are at the Royals for 4 to end June. Mike, this is kind of off the topic here. I think we're going to have to find a way. Maybe we need to make our way up to Baltimore.
Yeah, that would be an exciting game, especially with the way Baltimore's playing right now too. That team scares me. I know the Yankees have a better record right now, but man, Baltimore, they have some young talent. They're going to be good for a while, and their minor league system is stocked as well.
Right. They went through the whole rebuild. They have gone through the whole rebuild, and they are back at it. And it'll be nice to kind of see them fighting and contending with the Yankees. Anybody who can beat the Yankees is my friend. So that'll be good times.
They remind me a lot of the Texas Rangers. I'm sorry, the Houston Astros. They were bad for so long, and then they drafted that great core, and they won a few World Series because of it.
Yes, absolutely. So the Guardians, they are in action right now. And do you have the latest update? I saw still 1-0 in the second.
Still 1-0. Runners on first and third, 2 outs with
All right.
Rocchio at the plate.
All right, keep us posted there. Hopefully, we have some clutch hitting from the Guardians. Moving on, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the coaching search continues for the Cavs. They're bringing people into town now. And as we kind of talked, or I was thinking about this, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, Dan Hurley turns down the Los Angeles Lakers. So now the question has been and will be, what impact, if any, is that going to have on what the Cavaliers do, who they end up with, and will they get their first choice? Mike, what are you thinking? What are you hearing?
Yeah, I guess it's going to depend on what the coach values, because if the coach values a giant media market, better weather, maybe more entertainment options, you go to LA if you want that exposure. But if he wants a team built to win now and that'll have success in the future, you go to Cleveland. I would suspect most coaches want the latter. They want to be known for how they coach and their play and their team's records, which they're going to have much better time in Cleveland than in LA. But I guess you can't discount that that LA weather factor. So you never know. But I would lean towards, I think Cleveland still has the upper hand in getting whatever coach they want. But you just never know. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are this. So the first and foremost is that I think it was a not I wasn't I guess it wasn't a surprise run that the Lakers made at Dan Hurley. I had thought about him for the Cavs months ago. I thought, he might be intriguing. He seems to have great command, over the team, the players. He has them, quote unquote, maybe playing right. Um, but it didn't work. He decided, hey, I'm going to stay in college. Those are vastly different games. It's not easy. It's not that you can't do it, but it's not necessarily easy to make that transition and have professionals, these adults trying to be told what to do and when to do it and how to do it versus the kids that you have at the college level, the recruits. Um, it sounds like from all things that are being said, the top of the Cavs lists are really Atkinson and Borrego. And now it appears that LA might be turning their attention to Borrego. I quite honestly, up until the past, few weeks, I had never heard of this guy. I'm like, Borrego. I'm like, Chef Boyardee. What is this? I'm like, it sounds like an Italian sauce to me. I'm not sure what it is. But yes, I think that any way you slice it, the Cavs job is the better job. There is no doubt in my mind that the current roster composition is better in Cleveland. If you look at LA, they got some issues. And it's aging. You might have LeBron James and Anthony Davis right now, but LeBron James is nearing the end. He's 39 years old. He can only go for so much longer. And you've got Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, he was good this year and he played, he didn't have a ton of missed time. He's 31 and in basketball years, he's starting to get up there. What do you have after LeBron James and Anthony Davis that you can build around? The Cavs, on the other hand, you're talking about a bunch of young guys, regardless of if they keep all four of their core four, Garland, Allen, Mobley, and Mitchell, they're all in their 20s, early 20s, early and mid 20s. They've got a lot longer shelf life to them. And I think with that in mind, it's just head and shoulders above what the LA job can offer from the opportunity, the timing of being able to be a championship contender and being there to match up with the best in the East or best in the West.
Do you have a preferred candidate for the Cavs, or is it just so hard because there's just so many assistants out there that we don't have a good track record on them?
I mean, I can't say. I would be lying if I said that I had a half a clue about some of these guys. I'd really have to dive into the numbers to see where they've been and what they've done. I like the fact that Kenny Atkinson has had the head coaching experience, and I think with that he was an assistant in Golden State. He's been a head coach elsewhere. That's good. I like the pedigree where he's coming from. Borrego, everyone's talking about him, how he was very good offensively, in Charlotte. But Charlotte has been it's been a difficult sell down there. They've struggled. They have definitely struggled. And so I don't mind if we end up with someone like Atkinson, or, I would be fine with him 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. I need somebody who is not going to allow the Cavs to stand around and play ISO ball. I want to see ball movement. I'm sorry. I'm I'll get to my I'm too old for this and you can get off my lawn guy, but I can't stand it. I really can't. There's those few moments when you have a player who can do that. I mean, Mitchell is phenomenal, but like seeing the ball movement makes the game so much easier. And seeing guys off the ball running, around screens and tiring out the defense and being able to, catch and shoot is something that has been so beautiful for Golden State. I hate to say that, but watching guys get wide ass open for three all day long, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry for X number of years here, uh, it's just been amazing to watch, and I'd like to see more of that and less of the one-on-one type action. And I think you can take advantage of the guys that can go one-on-one by using their dribble penetration. It seems like oftentimes the Cavs didn't do so to their advantage. Of course, injuries derailed this past season. So all in all, I am not in any one camp over another. All I want, all I want to do is win. Is that
All
fair?
you want to do is win. And I got two thoughts from everything you just said. One, I think that's the secret sauce for the Celtics. If you see how much they run and have open shots because how much the other four guys are moving without the ball. I mean, I think that's it. That's some great coaching. Yeah, they have great players, but their scheme is awesome. And number two, that's been my biggest frustration with Garland. He is right now the king of one-on-one basketball, and so often he would drive to the rim and get a shot blocked or jump in the air and not know where the ball's going to go and throw it away. And I think that's why everybody got so frustrated with him. He has decent assists, but it was just frustrating to watch.
Well, it's basketball 101. It is fundamental that you do not go up in the air with the ball and try and pass it. You don't leave your feet with the ball. That it's more times than not that is going to be a recipe for disaster, and that's what you saw. Speaking of the Celtics, that game 3 is coming up here at 8:30, and the Celtics have ruled out Kristaps Porzingis. So let's see if the Mavericks can make anything of that. Also, big tonight here, the Cleveland Monsters and the Hershey Bears, game number 7, with a trip to the Calder Cup to take on Coachella Valley. And no, they're not going there for a concert. They will be playing, actually, that is a hockey team, Coachella Valley Firebirds. They are down to about 3 minutes to go in the first period, game number 7. What a story that has been. Monsters coming back from 3 games to none down to tie it up at 3 apiece and force a game 7 in Hershey. And Hershey was 49 seconds away from the win in the series. And the Monsters called the timeout, got the tying goal, and then won it in overtime. That is just amazing. So who do you think the Mavericks have a chance? Gonna go
No.
away from the Cavs here. Do you think the Mavericks have a chance?
My original prediction was 4 games to 2 Celtics would win it. I'm thinking sweep now. They don't look like a good team. They're relying on 2 people, and Kyrie's not playing well. And only one of those 2 is playing well. So I don't think they have a chance. The Celtics are just too good.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that there were times throughout the playoffs, throughout the season, that I thought the Celtics were beatable. I think in a different matchup, it may not look as good as it has against the Mavericks. They have, and to your point, and talking about the ball movement, they have played very well. Obviously, they had the best record in the NBA all season long. They coasted in. But there were times when they, and to use other people's terminology, they played with their food, blew big leads, and they were, beatable. Indiana had them on the ropes. I mean, they really did. The Halliburton injury, obviously that stunk. But they pushed them hard. And who knows, granted that Porzingis couldn't play against the Cavs, but the Cavs not having Allen and losing Mitchell middle of the series, it was going to be a tough go for the Cavs against the Celtics. But the Cavs, all in all, gave them a pretty tough series. Now that you can kind of look back at it in hindsight, so we shall see what happens there. As we were talking a little earlier, the NBA draft is going to be coming up here pretty soon following the conclusion of the NBA finals. And quite frankly, I look at the mock drafts and I don't know who half the players are.
You and me both.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. I think that I have to be really tuned in. There are a lot of players that aren't coming out of our college system. They are coming over from overseas. And as you said, I think the person who was listed as like in the mock draft number one, I think he's from France. Sar is the last name, and it seems like they're trying to catch lightning in a bottle. Whether you're talking about a Jokic or a Wembanyama or whomever, but it's very interesting how the game has changed when you look at the draft prospects and the fact that a lot of these guys aren't the guys you see playing at the college blue bloods. They're not all Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky players or Kansas. They're guys from overseas. It's kind of crazy. Although, I mean, it's hard in college to keep these guys there more than 1 year, so it's hard to get to know their name.
Yeah. Now, does that mean the international game is catching up to the U.S. game at all?
Well, we're going to see in the Olympics that certainly there will be some teams that are formidable. You may not have as deep of a roster because you think about when you're talking about all of the international players. You can't say, okay, this one country is responsible for X number of players and they're loaded. So therefore, it's hard to say they've completely caught up to the United States. The United States still, by and large, has the deepest pool of talent. That's our game. Basketball is our game, but the international game is certainly formidable and creates quite the challenge for the United States, especially when the U.S. doesn't play as a team. We've seen it happen before in the Olympics. This is not the dream team. This is not 1992. We are not going out. Charles Barkley is not, knocking somebody out. There's none of that going on here. It's tough and it's a different ball game, playing against the folks from Europe.
So, speaking of the draft, I'll bring this up. One thing I was looking at, a rumor I heard was that San Antonio would be willing to part with one of their 2 first-round draft picks for Darius Garland because they need a point guard, to pair with their young corn with Wemby. So they have the number 4 and number 8 picks. I'm sure if they were to trade one of them, it would be number 8. So would you give up Darius Garland for the number 8 pick?
Oh, in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. I mean, I think the Cavs could certainly fill that role quite nicely with somebody else. They don't need another all-star guard per se. You know what I mean? If you've got Mitchell, you can kind of move the pieces around a little bit. Somebody that complements better. It's clear we need more shooting. I think we need a little more size. But I'm happy with whatever they do. But if they were offering that, if that's legit, see ya. DG to DG in San Antone. Have fun. Enjoy the spicy food. I'm out. I'm out, Jerry.
Yeah. Can't argue with that one. I think that would be a great trade. And then we compare that. We have the number 20 pick. So pair that two first-round picks this year. When we're in the you're right in the prime of the Cavs competing for a championship. That would not be bad.
No, it wouldn't be. And in fact, you could even parlay the 8 and 20 and try and trade up with somebody.
Sure, absolutely. If
we
only knew who the top guys would be in the draft, but it's too hard now. Too many international players.
Yes, definitely. We'll focus on that as we get up to the NBA draft. So moving quickly here, because it's not a lot, it's nothing too exciting. Talking a little Browns here. We are in the preseason. Oh, and an update here from Hershey. The Monsters have had taken the lead 1-0, and then apparently the Bears scored This is ridiculous. Are you kidding me? Well, yeah, that was quick. So the Monsters scored at 19:02 of the first period. And then 21 seconds later, the Bears tied it up at 1. So it looks like they're going to go to the end of the first period from Hershey Game 7, Monsters and Bears tied at 1. So the Browns, not much, it's the offseason. It is the mandatory minicamp. You got this week, you got the mandatory minicamp, and then you've got about a 5-week break before we break, into the training camp. Unfortunately, for the Browns, you were hoping for kind of no drama. I mean, obviously, there's the everyday question of, how does Deshaun's pass look? How's his shoulder? Does he have any zip on it? Who's calling the plays? It was mandatory, except that it wasn't apparently mandatory for Amari Cooper as he is holding out. Big deal or not?
Well, I'll say no because he's normally a no drama guy, and I think he will eventually show up and he will play. But what frustrates me is these guys all sign contracts. If you would like to just not show up to work and because you're not happy with what you're getting paid, what would happen to you?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I'm disposable. They will find somebody else. These guys have a little bit more, fortunately for them, I guess, they've got these nice things called agents and a lot more leverage than we do. However, we've seen teams that are willing to be like, I'm not giving into this nonsense and just fine them and whatever and say, fine, don't come, don't play. You'll be fine. We're not paying you or whatever they're allowed to do within the confines of the collective bargaining agreement. I don't like it. I understand that it's well within their rights, and that's the way the game works and the profession works, whether it's basketball or football or whatnot, that you've got to get as much money as you can or whatever terms are most favorable to you. I don't like it. I don't love it. Like you said, you sign a contract. And what does it really mean if you can be like, nah, I don't think so. I'm not going to honor that. So,
Yeah. So the second part of that question is, should we pay Amari? Should we extend his contract? With the price of receivers nowadays, should we lock him up now, even though he's on the older side for a receiver? Or do we let him play this year and let him walk and hope Judy or one of our draft picks becomes our new number one?
very good question. What I would say is this: if it's simply a matter of, let's say the options are this. I don't know if I want to extend it. Maybe another year, maybe like a +1 or something like that. Or if he'd rather just have like guaranteed money this year. I don't know what all the details are of his contract. I've read some things about what he might be looking for. Um, but I'm not going to give him too many more years. There are too many young guys coming out that can be superstars. We haven't hit on them in the draft, sadly. But seemingly there's a plentiful supply of wide receivers that are up and coming to the NFL. And as much as I like Amari Cooper, I'm not going to invest so much more money into him. Speaking of guys that we did invest money in, we did invest in Jerry Jeudy. We got him in the trade, and then we did give him an extension. And he's got all this potential, but he's had a hard time reaching that potential. And in fact, now he hasn't been able to participate in the training camp thus far. Yesterday, apparently, he was inside the building. Today, he was out on the field, but off to the side with the likes of Nick Chubb and I believe Jack Conklin, not able to practice. So there's a little bit to be worried about here for the Browns, and I don't know, not a lot else going on here. They were talking to I don't know if you heard any of this. They were talking to Denzel Ward and about how he is there And he is participating in training camp and was there during the OTAs and what that means. And so just here's a clip from this afternoon with Denzel Ward.
Because I think the Browns they drafted me to be on this team. They drafted me to be a leader on this team, and that's a way that I show my leadership coming to OTAs. Regardless if I'm a rookie or if I'm a veteran in the league, I just try to come in and help show the guys what it's supposed to look like and how it's supposed to go. And if they got questions, but I'm still out here working on my game as well. And I mean, what better way than to come out here and do that with your guys and your coaches and everything? So just out here learning, out here trying to get better. But just trying to set a great example.
So you think that example is having an impact on a guy like Emerson?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think it brings us all together, brings us all in. If they see a veteran like myself come in, I think they look like, okay, if he's in here, then I probably should come back as well and get some work in with everybody. So last I just try to set a great example. And those guys, they teach me as well. So it's not just myself that's out there just trying to coach them up or be the lead person, but I mean, they coach me up as well, and we help each other out.
When you look at
so there's Denzel Ward, and that's kind of being the pro, and he really has turned into a pro's pro for the Browns, and he's a leader. And as much as people give some, talk a bunch of smack, give him some crap because he does and has had issues with injuries, concussions, etc. He's been really good on the field out there, and I've been pretty impressed and pleased with him as the fourth pick in his draft.
Yeah, and I love those comments because that's kind of the opposite of what Cooper's doing right now. Just saying how he wants to lead by example, and he doesn't need to be out there for the voluntary. I assume he's out there for the voluntary workouts, and he was there regardless. So that's great. I love that kind of leadership from the guys, especially as he's been on the team for a few years now, and that's kind of what you want your guys to evolve into. So we'll see what happens when he wants to hold out for a contract if he's still showing up. But at first blush, I like what he's saying.
Yeah, I think he's locked up for a number of seasons. They took care of that, so we're in good shape there. And obviously, I can't get into somebody's finances and their pocketbook to try and say that they're right or wrong, but certainly I hope that they get this situation with Cooper resolved sooner rather than later. Obviously, the sooner that he is able to get onto the field, the sooner they can get things in motion from the perspective of whatever this new offense is going to look like, no matter who's calling the plays. It's going to be important. And looks like, do you have a score update for me here for the Guardians?
I do. So 1-1, David Fry walked with the bases loaded for an RBI. So we still have the bases loaded with 2 outs, and Jimenez is up. So we'll see if they can continue.
And Hemi at the plate. And with that, if that's what's going on with the Browns, we shall. They'll be on vacation after this week as we are getting toward the start of the 2024 NFL season. So, Mike, why don't you tell everybody what has you feeling too old for this week?
Well, so like I said at the beginning of the show, 11-year-old is playing Little League playoffs, and they made it to the championship game. So I've been taking them to the batting cages, keep working on that swing as you get into the playoffs. I'm like, you know what? I'll step into the batting cages. It's been a while, but I'll do it. So I got in and I was smoking some 30-mile-per-hour Little League slow pitch balls. And then you wake up the next morning and you're like, why does my side hurt? It's because I have not used those muscles in probably 25 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And not is along similar lines. I had I'm too old for this moment this past weekend. So my daughter, Aaliyah, she just turned 11 last Friday. And so she's taken an interest in volleyball. So one of her gifts, my in-laws, they bought her a volleyball. We bought a volleyball net and set it up in the backyard. So we're playing volleyball in the backyard. And I swear, my arms are beaten and battered from the volleyball. I do not remember a volleyball being that hard and hurting so much. But gosh darn it, my arms were killing me the next day. My wife, she had like bruises. Now she bruises more easily, but nevertheless, I'm like, this is crazy. I can't believe this. But yes, we are apparently getting too old for this, Mike.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's so sad.
It is. It is very, very sad. And with that, also, why don't we close out the show? Tell everyone what has you going nuclear this week.
All right, and this is the age-old story, and it's continuing with the theme of Little League baseball. It's the parents in the stands who can't keep their mouth shut while
Oh,
11-year-olds are playing and are chirping at the umps, who are also just teenagers umping. Just realizing, hey, it's 11-year-olds playing baseball. Mistakes will be made. This is not life and death, and these umps are still learning. They're still, in high school. So, just chill. Just chill. That's all I'm asking.
yeah. Yeah. 100%. I'm right there with you. My kids have not been so much into, the team sports as they've been growing up here. So I haven't experienced that as much, but I know what you're saying. I do know what you are saying. Well, Mike, what has me going nuclear this week is the fascination and ridiculosity of folks and sports gambling in this country. And the fact that they are so quick to be enraged when a player gets pulled or whatever happens and they miss their bet by half a point and half a rebound or this or that. I saw people on my Twitter feed, whether they were serious or not, it's just the general idea. They were moaning and complaining that something was up and something was rigged when Ben Lively left the game against Miami after only 65 pitches. Score 5 scoreless innings, 65 pitches, and he goes out. I saw people trying to say that somehow, some way, it was rigged because of the gambling. Look, folks, yeah, it can be fun, but it should just be that. It should be fun. There I'm sick of the conspiracies. I know there are some bad actors out there, and it was proven, and hopefully they get caught by their sports and they're going to get banned. So they know what they've got going on, but I'm sick of this. Look, if you're getting that worked up and that upset over it because someone has an injury and has to leave a game and you've got these crazy theories, maybe it's time for you to step away from the gambling table, take the app off your phone and save your money. Donate $1 to a good charity because this is not for you. That gambling, the house wins. The house always wins. The number of people who actually come out in the black, come out positive in sports gambling is few and far between. You should not be trying to make money and get rich quick with the sports gambling. Have fun with it. Because that's what it is at the end of the day. And so folks with their crazy conspiracy, sports gambling conspiracy theories are what have me going nuclear this week. So, Mike, so you've got the championship game tomorrow?
Yes, we do.
All right. All right. Well, good luck to you. Good luck to your son's team. And hopefully we will be talking about the hoisting of a championship trophy, maybe some Gatorade, maybe a pizza party. I know.
That would be the best outcome. Pizza party.
Oh, that'll be fantastic. That'll be great. Well, I hope to bring some updates or have some insights and some fun stories from a trip up to the land this week. Hopefully, I will get to go to a Guardians game next week. That is at least the plan, weather permitting, and God willing, we'll be able to do that. So, looking forward to that, and looking forward to the recap of your son's championship game. So for Mike Rasinski, I am Ethan Greenberg, and you've been watching Going Nuclear, full-blown coverage of the land.